Today, Victoria is an immigration and small business practitioner. Last year, Victoria launched her own law firm, her Boss Babe initiative. Boss Babe is the empowerment of women through purposeful business. Victoria educates and assists women in starting and protecting their businesses, legally speaking. So I'm going to connect with her here soon. I ask that you please ask questions. Today, our topic is becoming or being a young attorney, life after the bar exam. So let's join.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi. Oh, there you are. Hi, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm loving the hoops and the
Thank you.
pink.
Thank you.
That's awesome. And where are you calling from today?
So I am located in Charlotte, North Carolina. So all the way in the south on the opposite coast
Oh,
of
from
you.
where I am. Yeah,
Yeah.
wow. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us and talking about becoming a young attorney. I'm really excited about this topic.
For sure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I know that you were a guest writer for us, and I really enjoyed reading that, and it was very empowering, especially, for me, I say, I will have to take the bar exam at some point, but right now I'm not practicing law, and so seeing other Latinas who are had to retake it one, two times, or three times, like they're so driven to keep going, and I've really enjoyed reading what you wrote. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
so I know you have somebody tomorrow that's going to speak on, repeat bar exams. So I don't want to step on her toes. But just briefly, I think when you've worked so hard through law school and you went through bar prep and you studied and you put all this time and this effort in, it is very disappointing when it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't turn out well. And so I tell everybody, and I believe I wrote it in the article, it's not the end of the world. Keep trying if you want to be an attorney, if you want to practice, remember why you started and just keep trying. Nobody cares how many times you take the bar exam. Nobody's ever going to ask you that. I
Yes.
think that's something um, that us as law students or newly, graduated from law school, we think that the bar exam is everything in the world. It's been, something that we built up to. But at the end of the day, it's just a drop in the bucket, and nobody,
Mhm.
really cares. Once you pass, that's it. Nobody asks how many times you've taken it.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm really happy that we're talking about it, and I'm excited to have Jessica tomorrow
Yes,
giving us a little bit more detail about, what it's like to retake it and what it was
definitely.
like for her. So,
Yeah.
today we'll be discussing life after passing the bar exam. How long have you been practicing now since you passed the bar exam?
So I've been practicing for 3 years. For me, it seems like a long time. For others, and I'm still, I still qualify as a young attorney. So 3 years, but it's been eventful. It's been a long learning experience, and we're still going.
Yeah, and you're a immigration. You have your own law firm, correct? You launched
Yes.
it last year, and you are doing immigration law. And what type of immigration law are you practicing?
So actually, I have a wide scope of an immigration practice. I was lucky enough to find my first law firm position with a very small law firm, and it was 90% focused on immigration. And the benefit of working at a small law firm is that you have to work on every part of the case. You have to sort of practice the wide range of that area. So
Mm-hmm.
immigration. So I do everything from business immigration, meaning H-1Bs, perms, employment based, all the way down to family, K-1 visas, green cards, citizenships. So my immigration practice is well rounded. So I do a lot of immigration
Oh,
work.
wow. Yeah, that is a wide range. That's really good. Wow. And so, what are some challenges? I know that you mentioned it feels like it's been a long time. I know that immigration law specifically, it it's very dense, and it's very wide ranging, and it's very detailed. You have to be very detail oriented. So whereas
Yes.
some challenges that you face, difference between when you worked at a small law firm as a law student to now as on your own, what's the difference, and how have you overcome any challenges?
Yeah. So, the biggest challenge I faced in these first 3 years is actually just learning how to be an attorney. Law school, I tell everybody law school doesn't teach you how to be an attorney, and it barely teaches you the law. You learn these,
Yeah.
concepts, and you learn all these old cases, but you don't really know how to actually be an attorney. So, how do I have conversations with clients who want to take a position that's not really beneficial? How do you get them to see why they should take a different action? How do you break bad news to them? Immigration is very similar to criminal in that the work that we do impacts their entire life, right here and now and into the future. So sometimes unfortunate things happen and you have to deliver bad news. So how exactly do you have those conversations? One, so you don't come off rude, and then two, so you're also not emotional. I know starting out when I was
Hmm.
delivering bad news, I would get a little emotional, and just in a professional way, it's not really good for the client for you to be emotional. And then also just not being afraid. When I first started to practice, especially again immigration, when you have, so much of their future, your client's future in your hands, it's very scary. And
Yeah.
sometimes you're afraid to make a decision. You're afraid to give advice, which way we should go. And that just comes with experience in gaining confidence in your experience, not being afraid to make those decisions. Because sometimes there's not really a right or wrong. You kind of got two bad choices, and you got to just pick one and do your best.
Hmm.
So learning how to be an attorney and then also not being afraid to do the work is really what I've learned in these 3 years.
Yeah, I bet, especially because you're analyzing your own caseload, right? And then you determine what's gonna be, the outcome of the client. And I know that I also was a part-time student, and I think you were a part-time student, correct? You
Yes.
did the 4 years as well.
Yeah.
So I did work for law firms, and the difference was as experience came. I did have some attorneys who would challenge me and ask me, okay, what do you think the outcome of these cases should be? Which I really appreciated because they kind of walked me through that. And after I moved on from graduating, I didn't pass the bar. I worked for a smaller law firm. They too would ask questions of, what do you think the outcome should be? And I was just, at first very afraid of speaking up because I knew that heaviness and the weight of having someone's life depend on a law firm, on an attorney. And I would, put my what my thoughts were, and most of the time I realized that after so much time that you've studied something and that you have dedicating into seeing how others do it, that you can do it, you can do the
Right.
work, you just be confident enough to speak up.
Right.
And I really appreciate that. Even though I didn't have my license, I could at least talk to these attorneys about the case and be able to kind of process through it, even though, they could still in some way teach me that I was still, um, they would give me the opportunity to practice my thinking patterns
Yes.
and the way that a case could be resolved. So I really appreciated that, and that experience was
Right.
good.
So
That's really, go ahead.
that is a really good point, especially for being new attorneys, is your thought process, right?
Mhm.
You're always second guessing if you're understanding the law. Is the decision that I'm thinking we should take, is that the right course of action? Do I actually understand the impact of all of the different working parts of this case? So it is, trusting your thought process and
Yeah.
trusting yourself that you do know what's going on, and you can do this. It's okay to make those decisions because you start to trust your own thought process.
Yeah, yeah. And I really look forward to seeing having more of these conversations of, how do people find that confidence? And I guess I can ask you, when was it a time that you decided, okay, I think it's time for me to open my practice, and I know that I'm able to do all this because I've had this experience and I've studied and I'm ready for this challenge and this new chapter in my life.
Yeah, so that's a really good question because I think we're fortunate enough to be in a business where you don't have to work for somebody if you don't want to. If you have confidence in yourself and your knowledge and your ability, you can start your own business, start your own firm, and then, work for yourself. So how do you actually get to that point? And it goes back to what we were just talking about. It comes with the experience. So at the small law firm, there were just two attorneys, myself and then the named attorney. And we worked in a team every day doing everything from A to Z. So just working really hard in the beginning, really taking time to understand the law and the different scenarios that can impact a client's case. In immigration, when we're talking about family law, there's not really, or family-based immigration, there's not really so many different scenarios. They kind of all will fit, into a certain bucket. You might have a little variation, but
Hmm.
just putting in the time to really understand the law in the beginning and then working on everything. When I first started out, I was constantly trying to learn. I would go to my boss and say, okay, what about X? I want to know about this. And so he would teach me. And so just putting in the time and the effort to really understand the law, and also working on being an attorney, talking to clients, knowing where to file stuff, going to the courthouse, just, basic things like that. So you're not running around looking lost, looking confused. So once you build up enough confidence in yourself and you've done a lot of work and you have some successful cases and you have some, hard fought cases, and you makes yourself feel good that you actually got the result that you wanted. Once you get to that point where you have confidence in your thought process, where you
Yeah.
can counsel a client on your own and not have to second guess yourself. I think it's when you're in a good point to think about making that decision to open up your own firm. But it's different for everybody. Some people, they need somebody around to sort of be that soundboard. Even though you have confidence in yourself, you may need somebody to, just run an idea by. So some people are more comfortable by themselves. Some people, need to be in the office with more people. But I would just say, just having that confidence when you're really in a position where you can really handle most of the work on your own.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, we have a question that is going
Yeah.
along with what we're talking about. Does law school offer any tools to equip you to start your own law firm or your own business?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. My law school actually did. I'm trying to think of the name of the course, but it was one of those short courses over Christmas break. I don't know if anybody's law school had those like 1 week, 2 week courses. I think they're like 1 or 2 credits, but we did have one about starting your law firm, and then yeah, I took that class and I did learn a lot. So if your law school offers anything like that, definitely take advantage and take that class. Even if it's something that not sure if you really want to open your own firm in the
Yeah.
future, it is good information just in case.
Yeah, I believe my law school also had a class for having your own business and how to run it because a lot of people were just kind of starting their own law firms when they graduated or a few years after, and they
Right.
needed that more of that support of opening up a law firm, which entity to choose, to even how to uh, what are the etiquettes of,
Mhm.
or the ethics, excuse me, of where to keep your money for your clients and whatnot. So
Right,
they
right,
were doing that. And I wish I would have taken that class. And now in retrospect, it sounds like something I would have enjoyed. I did take
right,
some
yeah.
business classes, which is kind
But
of what empowered me to now open Latina LLC. But
yeah,
before that, I was pretty afraid of anything business related.
same, same.
Yeah,
And when I took the class, honestly, I don't think I had any intention of opening up a law firm. I just needed a credit over break, and so I took it.
it worked
But
out.
but it worked out. So
Yeah, you would imagine. Same here. I was just like, okay, I need another credit. I need to take business organization for the bar exam, and
right.
it's might as well be doing now. And it's funny, the person who taught it, Dean Bravo, she's actually now the dean of my law school. She was just named recently, and I was just so happy because you'll meet people in your law school that they're so empowering, and they'll be there for you, and they'll teach you, and they're so knowledgeable, and you can gain so many tools besides just the legal mindset, but you also
Right.
work up that confidence to do what your next move is going to be. So that was very
That's right.
helpful.
That's right. It's always
Yeah.
good to have those people.
Yes. And I have a couple more questions here that I have for you. Um, what are some resources that you will recommend to a young attorney after coming out from passing the bar?
Yeah, so always, I know, I heard this in law school too, and I just kind of blew it off. So I'm sure everyone has heard this, but the number is find reach out to them. Don't be afraid. Practicing attorneys are always willing to help younger attorneys and reach out to them. That way, you can send them questions. They can sort of give you career advice. Um, I remember when I found out I passed the bar the second time, and I was ready to go to work. um, I think 2 weeks after passing the bar, I was reaching out to one of my mentors, and he was giving me a list of CLEs that I need to take that could, help me jumpstart my knowledge, my practical knowledge of how to actually be an attorney. So definitely a mentor, as well as somebody to be your soundboard that you can run um, your thought process through. If you have a new situation, you're not sure how to handle it, have somebody that you can call and talk to be your soundboard. Um, the other thing which I really found helpful in my immigration practice is subscribing to a listserv. Um, a listserv is an email list where articles go out, articles, questions, all related to a certain area of law, so immigration, criminal. And through those listservs, you actually learn a lot. You'll learn things that other attorneys are struggling with, questions, how to deal with certain situations. And that's all, it's a free resource. It's good. They have forms, templates that go through these listservs. So listserv is also a good thing. And the other thing I found was downloading free resources from like places like Legal Aid. I know it sounds a little funny, right? But
Mm-hmm.
Legal Aid prepares packets, and they have sort of do-it-yourself um, law packets for pro bono clients, and you can learn a lot through those free resources. You can learn where, if you're really, really new and you don't know where to actually file, you don't know how to file, what color is the paper, yellow? Is it white? Is it blue? Just
Yeah.
those basics that some new attorneys kind of, you don't really learn that stuff in law school, and if you haven't had an internship or anything, those are great resources. So definitely a mentor, soundboards, listserv, and then also downloading free resources from Legal Aid or anywhere else that has free resources that you can review.
Wow, yeah, those sound great, and I think as a law student, I did subscribe to some of those just from this, well, mostly the legal aid ones, which is very helpful in learning myself when I was in law school. So definitely those sound great. I think just starting out.
I have one for divorce that I use to this day. If I think I'm, forgetting something, I'll just open it up and go through. It's a checklist. I'll go through the checklist, make sure I have everything I need, and it's simple, easy, it's correct, and it's free.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. And right now, you since are you working from home and do you have an office right now? And for those who may be working from home, how are you managing your schedule at this moment? 'Cause especially, are you can't meet with your, I don't know if the state of Florida, you can't meet with your clients yet. I know.
Yeah, so right now, I am working from home and it is just a bit challenging. So without, the stay-at-home order, I do have an office space. I have, it's like a co-sharing office space where you pay, a lower fee a month and everyone comes and you use the printer, coffee, meet with clients. So normally that's where I'm at. But just being at home is very difficult because it's hard to focus on
Yeah.
the work when, you're sitting in the dining room and then you're like, oh, well, I need to throw some laundry, and then you go put laundry in, and the next thing you know, um, yeah, so it's hard to work at home right now, just, trying to stay focused on the actual work. As far as clients, just a lot of Zoom, a lot of video chats, just trying to really communicate with clients the best way that I can at the moment. A lot of emails, a lot of phone calls, a lot of upset clients because they want to meet in person, and
Oh, wow.
I
Yeah.
don't want to take that risk. So yeah, just a lot of shifting and trying to make things work.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and that's one thing I've been wondering about, how are law firms handling this too, just the meeting with clients. But nowadays it just makes it easier that you can just meet with them on video. I'm glad that that's available as a
Yeah.
tool
Yeah, and
for
then
sure.
for some clients who don't have it, just phone calls, trying to talk to them. Mostly
Mhm.
immigration clients who are, my immigration clients are mostly impacted because they're nervous about the public charge rule and how obtaining any sort of coronavirus assistance or help can impact them. So a lot of phone calls and video chats trying to explain to them the impact of taking those benefits and those resources and how that might affect their status going forward.
Yeah, we talked to Latina RN official recently, and we couldn't give out any of that legal advice. We could just mention what the caseworkers are being told and what the her as a nurse was being told. And next week, as we talk to another immigration attorney, and then she'll be also giving us a little bit of knowledge of what's going on in that field with immigration a little bit more on that day. But thank you for so much for mentioning that because I know it's making a lot of people nervous during the
Yes.
pandemic. Yeah, for sure. And I guess because of the pandemic, I know that a lot of maybe new and not so new, but you can just consider them young attorneys. They might be looking at how maybe I feel bad, like also thinking of those who just started a business or who just finally said I'm gonna become an immigration attorney, and I'm gonna, or I have the experience, I can, have my own business, and then suddenly the pandemic came.
Right.
So how what are some things you can like give them? It's just like looking back, how can they find more clients or how can they make themselves more visible of presenting themselves, how to handle the current cases that they have? What are some tips that you can give them?
Yeah, so that's a really good question because it is something that myself and then some of my associates talk about is how do you sort of continue with business as usual. Um, Fortunate or unfortunate, I'll let everyone else be the judge. But in the legal community, our work doesn't stop. The courts are closed, but certain things still go on. Immigration offices are closed to public, but our work still, goes on. So how do you continue to do that in a way that is empathetic to others who are unable to do so because their business is closed? Um, and for me, I'm in a unique space where I have immigration and I also have small business. So to get more clients as far as my small business work is really just messaging, letting your clients know that you're here, letting them know that if they're going through anything, that you're open to talk to them. A lot of, you know, reducing fees, waiving fees, just to have them come in and talk to you and work through different situations with you. But it is really tough. Um, but my advice to everybody is just to continue to sort of be you and continue to do your work and put good work out there, and then those clients will come to you.
Yes, especially in the Latino community. My previous boss, he works mainly with like the Latino immigrant population, and he would say, just do your job as best you can because your clients depend on it, and once they see a good result and how much you cared for them, that would just spread
Right.
because we're all just united in their conversations and who you talk to. So that's a really good advice right there. Yeah.
Yeah, just always in general, pandemic or not, just always do good work. Always
Yeah.
do the best that you can for your clients,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll have business. The attorney that I was working for when I first started off, he has been practicing over 20 years and he does not advertise.
Wow.
He doesn't
That's
do a
amazing.
single piece of advertising. He just does good work, and people come back and they refer friends and family. So just continue to do good work. Advocate for your clients the best you can, and you'll business will come. It will come.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's really amazing. 20 years. Wow.
Yeah, and counting. I still call him.
Yeah, I wonder what will be 20 years from now, right?
Right, right.
And what are some, let's see, I have a couple more questions, but if anyone wants to jump in and ask questions, please do. As
Please
for those,
ask questions.
yes. Um, I know that there are also a lot of attorneys who either, they passed the bar, this past fall, they, became full-fledged attorneys. Those that just passed the spring semester, some are doing online ceremonies, and they're going to be able to start practicing. And networking is not really thing right now. I hope that they would have networked before that, and that they have jobs, but some may be looking for jobs. So, what would you recommend to those new attorneys? What to do? Do you think that? I know that you said that the legal work is always there; it doesn't stop, and I can see that. So, how can they find those jobs and kind of push themselves to be out there? Because they might also have some competition at the same time.
Right. So now, it is, weird for everybody, right? And it's
Yeah.
definitely weird to enter a new job market at this point. But as far as networking, I have seen a lot of attorneys doing virtual networking groups. So
Mm-hmm.
if you know of any attorneys, kind of like, what we're doing now, there's a live, there'll be a group of attorneys. I think it's usually on Zoom. They'll host some sort of networking event open to everybody. That's something that new attorneys can start doing immediately. Just join in, listen, participate. One thing about the legal field is just knowing people. If people know your name and they know what you do and they like you, you'll tend to get people to recommend you because not all of us do the same thing. Not all of us have the same caseload, and not all of us are willing to take the same type of cases. Some of us want to do removal defense, some of us don't.
Yeah.
So just sort of being active in your legal community in any way that you can, either now or in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Going forward, once we get back to normal life, definitely attend different bar events. So here in Charlotte, we have the Young Lawyers Division, which I was active in more so than than I am now. But definitely go to those events, network with attorneys, reach out to attorneys, and just see what's going on. Um, yeah, but it's just a little odd right now because not people are not getting together. That's networking. But as far as looking for a job, um, I always tell people, and this is I'm a little hesitant to say it. I always try to help people steer their legal career where they actually want it to go. So
Mm-hmm.
remember why you started. Us as, minorities who have attended law school, a lot of us, don't just go to law school because it's the family business. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm the only attorney in my family. It's not a family business. So
Yeah.
all of us usually have some reason why. Why did we want to go to law school? What was our purpose at that moment? So keep that in mind and then search for that job path. Don't just jump into a job because they want to hire you, you need a job. Now, granted, you may have certain reasons where you're forced, to take that job, and that's understandable. But if you have any sort of way to, you know, reject a job, say it's family law and you want to be a criminal defense attorney. If you
Mm-hmm.
have the option to say no to that family law and wait for that criminal position, I would highly recommend it because what happens is after you start to practice, you will pinhole yourself into a certain area of law. So then when you
Mm-hmm.
start to look for a job, say your dream job is criminal, but you've worked in family law for 5 years. When you start to apply to those jobs, law firms are going to say, well, you have 5 years of family law. What are you trying to do? Why do you want to come here? And so
Yeah.
those advancements in that switch is a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
So things you can do while you're waiting. You can volunteer. I volunteered with the North Carolina Legal Aid. You can gain experience that way. It's not paid, but it's something that you can put on your resume for a paid employer that says, look, I have experience. I've been volunteering for legal aid. This is what I do there. And here, by the way, here are some, recommendations from attorneys at legal aid. So volunteer, pro bono. You can even intern. When I was trying to sort of, you know, work my way into into the legal field, I offered firms to internship even after I passed the bar because I wasn't getting the type of positions that I wanted. And so when you tell a firm that, oh yeah, I'll intern, they're open. Everybody wants, free work, but that's an opportunity for you to learn, gain experience, and also get those recommendations. So that's
Mm-hmm.
really what's going to help you in the legal field is recommendations and experience on your resume. So if you can find ways to do that in the field that you really want to be in, that would be invaluable to you in your legal career.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. That's a really good advice. And that kind of goes along with something that I was thinking about that when I was in law school, I had a attorney who was a partner. He was a Barnes and Thornburg, I believe, and he told me he had like a 3-year plan, kind of a where do you want to see yourself and within 3 years and planning that out. So I know that I always been afraid of, oh my gosh, am I getting pinned into just immigration?
Right.
But immigration is so vast that you could do different types of work. You can go from family to criminal to business law, business
Yes.
immigration if you wanted it,
Right.
and there's many different sizes too.
Mm-hmm.
So now is less scary.
Yes.
But I think back then I was just like, am I going to be doing just like victim justice because it really kind of wears you out all the time? But then looking back, that some of those same types of um, types of skills could be transferable to something else. It was nice to see, and I think yeah, definitely it helps whenever you're having that 3 year plan and you can say, okay, this is what I'm doing next, and if that doesn't work out, I have my plan B.
Right.
Or
Right.
something else, because you always have to have one too. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's a really good advice right there. I hope that people are taking notes.
Well,
After,
thank you.
yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
just keep, just always keep in mind your why. Why did you start? Why are you here? Always ask yourself, why am I here? Well, what am I
Mhm.
doing here? And then think, okay, how am is what I'm doing now helping me get there? And if it's not, then change what you're doing. And if it is, great. Keep going.
Yeah, for sure. And I have a couple more questions, but again, feel free for anyone to be asking questions. For
Yeah.
those who are listening, please make sure that you ask questions, that you are taking this time to ask our guest
Yeah.
anything that you want regarding life after passing the bar. So I have a couple more here. What are some tips that you will leave us with, or that you will give us about life after taking the bar in general? What are some things that at the beginning of deciding to open your firm that you would give to those students and those that are like maybe in your shoes right now in that time frame?
So the number one thing I would tell everybody is just do not be afraid. Um, I kind of yell at myself sometimes because when I passed the bar and I was, getting ready to start my practice, I was afraid. I was afraid to take on clients. I was afraid to talk to clients. I would have people come up to me because they knew I went to law school, they knew I passed the bar, and say, hey, I have XYZ. Can you help me? And I would say no because I was afraid to actually be an attorney. So the
Mm-hmm.
number one thing I would say is don't be afraid to step into that role of an attorney. It is intimidating. It is scary, but don't let that stifle you. Just go for it. You will do great. Hopefully, you have a mentor or you have somebody that you can call. And if you're having difficulties, any attorney that you reach out to will be more than willing to help you. So take that first step and step into your role as an attorney. I think is something that holds a lot of us back. I know it held me back.
I can see myself, yeah, like
Yeah.
that too. Especially in the community, right? Like you hear, especially because a lot of us have immigrant family members. So I would hear people would imagine, and I'm in my community at least, that oh, she graduated law school, and they think immediately that you're an attorney. So all the time that you might get questions, even while attending law school, you might get questions of,
Yes.
what do you think? Tell me what the solution would be, and I would be terrified of that. So overcoming that fear of can how do you, yeah, maybe that's actually a really good question. How do you go from telling a prospective client, hey, I'm going to listen to you have this conversation, to I can't solve this issue, but if you come to my office, I can help you, and now you're going to be a client. How do you make them a client? How do you make that transition, I
That
guess?
is a really, really good question because, um, I became an attorney because I want to serve people. I want to help. So this is something that I struggle with till this day. I gave a free consultation last week because someone reached out and said, "Can you help me?" And I'm like, "Sure, I can help." Just click on Zoom and here we go, right? But it's that conversation that transition is more of a business minded transition. It's really taking stock in how much you value your time. So before law school, we all knew attorneys and we all knew, they're all about the money. You got to pay them for their time. You got to pay them for your time. Well, as you start to practice, you realize it's not about the time spent with you. It's about the time taken away from my other clients. So I have clients who, have really difficult and serious issues that I need to tend to. So if
Mm-hmm.
you want to have my time, I'm more than willing to help you. I'm more than willing to sit down and I would love to help you. But you're also taking me away from somebody else. So we have to figure out something that works for both of us. And usually that works out with money, right? You pay me for my time so I can have a chat with you. Um, so that business mindset is difficult because you'll have somebody who comes to you and they really, really need your assistance, and you just want to help. And that business mindset really starts to kick in when you start your own firm. When you're sitting down at the end of the day and you're trying to pay bills and you're like, but I worked 50 hours this week. How do I not have, any money? So it's just, trying to be as helpful in helping people in a way that you want to, but also understanding that you have to respect the clients who have already paid you. So
Mm-hmm.
when you think about it that way, it's the time you're spending with this person for free is taking away from time that someone has already paid you for. It kind of makes that transition a little easier.
Yeah, yeah. And we actually have two questions right here. One of them is, my mother runs her immigration firm. I am attending law school in the fall, and it's my dream to run the firm with her. Any advice? What can I to do to add value while studying and learning?
So the biggest way to add value is just to be present in the firm and learn. What you'll learn in law school is the law, but you'll also learn it by working in your mother's firm. So being present, learning how to handle cases, learning the different steps in immigration cases because they all, follow steps. Learning different steps in the process would be invaluable to her because once you graduate and you pass the bar and you're ready to come in as an attorney and she's ready to walk away, she'll be far more confident in your ability to do that because as an attorney, we worry very deeply about our clients. And we're always, very afraid to pass them off to somebody else. So just understanding the different steps, being present in the law office, and having that practical experience will go a long, long way for your mother.
Yeah, that's wow, good. And what resources do you use to stay up to date with your state or national law? That's someone that's asking. I guess I think they mean federal law.
Yeah, so really, just a lot of I guess the big ones, USCIS. I subscribe to every single notification necessary or that they have out there, not necessary, but anything they have, I subscribe. Um, I'm trying to think of the Immigration Resource Clinic in California. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. They are great. The
Mhm.
ILRC, something like that.
Yeah,
You
I'm
know what I'm
gonna
talking about?
about it. Immigration, language. Oh my gosh, I'm
Resource,
trying to think what it is.
but it's in
Resource.
California. Yes.
Yeah.
If anybody wants it, reach out. I'll give you the correct information
No,
after. But they are great. Again, everything they produce is not free, but they do a lot of free updates. They get a lot of free downloads for beginners. There's a lot of basic guides that you can get from them and learn from them. So those are really the two main ones that I look out for.
hmm Yeah, and also immigration law will be federal, so just to kind of answer for that person that there aren't really state laws that are restricting any immigration type of work unless it's like family based or something like that, right?
Right.
So yeah. Any tip, and then she's asking any tips on time management between cases, calls, meetings, and clients.
All really good questions. It just, I prioritize based on what's most urgent. Do I absolutely have to take that call because my client's been detained? Um, can I put off this meeting because I have an urgent phone call? It's just all about prioritizing what is really most important. Excuse me. When it comes to immigration, it's all about deadlines. Deadlines, 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 deadlines. So I also prioritize based on deadlines. Do I really have to meet with this client right now because I have a deadline that I need to meet next week? Can this wait until after I've done the work that I need to do um, to meet that deadline? So it's just all about balancing really what you have on. Urgency and deadlines is really what I live off of.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm trying to charge my phone.
Oh, you're fine.
So that make sure that our call is going. And I have a question here. How can you find your call or area of expertise? Something that you are passionate about.
So, Boss Babe is the empowerment of women through purposeful business. So, what does that mean? All that means to you is to understand that I love purpose. I believe in purpose. I believe in finding and fulfilling your purpose. We all need to know, why are we doing what we're doing, right? If you don't know why are you doing it? What's the point? So,
Mm-hmm.
if you're graduated law school or if you're in law school and you're kind of trying to figure out, well, why am I here? What am I going to do? Volunteer. Pro bono work, volunteer internships in different areas, and figure out what it is that you like. There's really no other way than to actually get into a place and start working to really figure out what it is you like. You can
Yeah.
you can read experiences, attorneys, books. Nothing will really give you an idea of what it's like to practice in that area unless you actually go and work. So definitely, volunteer, intern, pro bono in different areas and really figure out what you like.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, I know that as a college student, and we talked about this a little bit with Latina RN because I was in a med school program at first.
Okay.
My first 2 years, 2.5 years of college, and then I decided I didn't want to go to my school anymore.
Well, good for
Like,
you. You got out.
I was already like in a junior status, and I decided I want to wanted to have a history degree and a English degree, and people are like, those are very different,
Yeah.
and they were, but I think that I still love science. I
Right.
absolutely geek out about science,
Hmm.
but when it comes to the practical side, what is it that I enjoy doing?
Right.
That was very important to me. So I love reading and writing. I have those skills, you know, you
That's
have to
those are
attorney.
great skills to have in as a attorney.
So I love doing that. I can read for hours, and that's probably why my vision's so bad. And I think the most that I discovered about myself is that if I could get up the next morning and look forward to that work, then it was worth it.
That's right.
If I can, because you'll learn too, like coming home, how to put that passion aside because you do have to live your life, you
Right.
know.
Right.
So for me, that was okay. I would definitely enjoy going to law school for that purpose as something I can help others in some way. So I think it's great that you're doing Bob's Babe, especially with the telling others it's good to volunteer because I know that's very important for communities who
Yeah.
may not because there's so little attorneys, especially in immigration law, especially for the Latina population, that we don't have those resources. So I'm very grateful that you're talking about volunteering, how important that is, not only for yourself as a self development, but it will also be so important for our community. And that's why I love doing Latina too, because
Yeah.
I get to have these conversations with other like-minded Latinas. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
And this is a great service to our community as well. You know?
Yeah, I absolutely love that. That's that I get to do this now. It's different than what I expected coming out of law school, definitely.
It always is.
It
It's
always,
never what you expect.
yeah, I never thought that I would be, doing more of like the business side of things and using those skills in that way than, or even just because, uh, doing these, like you're volunteering your time, I volunteer my time, and then I just really enjoy doing it because so many people can learn from each other, and I think it's awesome.
Yes, it
So,
is.
yeah, I really appreciate that.
Oh,
Does
thank
anyone
you.
else, and I'll give a few more minutes here if
Yeah.
anyone else has some questions for us about law school, about um, really anything from immigration law to business to um, what else you would like to hear from our guest today. Make sure that you drop a comment. And if you do have a question after we get off, feel free to DM me or DM Bob's Babe Vic, and
Yes.
that's her handle.
Yes.
And she'll be happy to answer you, and I will be happy to answer
Definitely.
you.
Feel free,
Yeah. And
anybody feel free either now or after to send questions or anything.
yeah, I think actually there's a question here, and I don't know how, I'll read it. What do you guys know about health law? Is it difficult to find work in health law, especially during this time? I'm new and I don't know much. So I don't really know a whole lot about health law.
I'm sorry, I don't really.
Yeah. I know that a while back I was trying to understand what I wanted to exactly do because I had a lot of professors and a lot of friends who would say, Cindy, I know you want to do legislative law. I know you love immigration and human rights, but is that really what you want to do? There's not a lot of Latinas like you
Mhm.
in the legal field. You should consider big law. So I interviewed for some big law firms to do health law. I and I barely knew a lot about it. And all I had to do was just, all I could do was talk to others, like in the health law review, or professors who taught health law, or I talked to classmates who were in that field, and that's probably like the best thing I could tell you. And just from what I learned, that for me it was mainly exploring those options. And if you need help finding someone in that field, I can see if I know anyone for my law school who may be doing health law, and I can maybe see if they will be willing to talk to you through email or even phone number. So I'm sorry I can't be much
Yeah,
help
I'm
to
sorry.
guest
I don't know the
today.
first thing about health law.
Yeah. Well, if anyone has any questions, feel free to email us to at officiallatina@gmail.com. And we can always pass this on to Bob's Bay Vic, and
Yes.
her handle is actually on our Instagram. So if you go to our Instagram post, you'll see her handle there to find her. Thank you so much, Victoria, for being with us today. This has been so much for me to learn from you and
Yeah.
from others to learn from you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the invite, and I'm always here to write, participate, help.
Thank you.
So thank you for the invite and having me.
Yeah, thank you. It's so nice to meet you too. I'm happy that we get
Yes.
to meet this way.
Right.
And hopefully, if I find myself in Florida, or sorry, North Carolina. Oh my gosh, what am I talking about? North Carolina. I'm thinking of
Yeah.
going to this already, but I will be so happy to meet you too.
Yeah, if you're ever this way, let me know. We can definitely meet up.
Yeah.
And thank you to everybody for listening to us. Yep. And for your questions. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye, Victoria.
Bye.